President Paul Biya gives in to demands of Anglophones in Cameroon, orders the discontinuance of judicial proceedings against some Anglophone leaders arrested during the Anglophone crisis in the two English-speaking regions of the country. That is the lone headline tonight. We'll be meeting with our staff lady, Mimi Mefo. We shall be having other guests tonight who are going to be analyzing the presidential decree that was signed today. I'll be right back. Good evening, I am Fohan Sinchanji. You're watching the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinox Television, broadcasting live from Douala, Cameroon, Equinox Central News Desk. I told you in our lone lead story tonight, President Paul Biya orders the discontinuance of judicial proceedings against Agbo Bala, Dr. Fontem Neba, Mancho, BBC, Ayapola Bine, and others arrested during the crisis rocking the two English-speaking regions of the country. The decree was signed by the President of the Republic and made public by the Secretary General at the Presidency, Ferdinand Gongo. And Mimi Mefo, staff lady, is with me tonight. Mimi Mefo, good evening.
Good evening to you for Hansen Chanji.
Now you are a journalist with Equinox Television, the English desk. You have been following up development of this story from October 2016 till date. Now, what is the atmosphere, or how is the atmosphere like in the two English-speaking regions of the country after this decree?
Before we take a look at the series of happenings in the two English-speaking regions of the country from the month of October 2016, as for Hansen Chanji announced earlier, it should be noted that the atmosphere is that of euphoria in the two English-speaking regions of the country, precisely in the chief town of the northwest region of Cameroon, that is in the town of Bamenda. It is equally a similar atmosphere, according to our correspondents who are equally deployed across the national territory. They have been on the ground since this crisis escalated in the two Anglophone regions of the country. That was since the month of November 2016 for Hansen Chanji. I should note as well that our correspondent precisely in the town of Bamenda, Mbo Stella, has made us to understand that the people are excited, though with a lot of mixed feelings. They are saying that what is the state of the crisis at this point in time, because the problem was already there before the arrest of the Anglophone leaders and also the arrest of Anglophones. So does it mean, because the release that was signed today by the Secretary General at the Presidency of the Republic, Ferdinand Gongo, has actually not stated or concretely what is going to be done as far as the crisis is concerned, but the President of the Republic in the said release, as we got, is doing everything possible to ensure that the integrity of the country is respected, is upheld, is equally ensuring that the country's peace and security, the aspect of peace are upheld as well, to reinforce peace in the two English-speaking regions of the country and also across the national territory. That is the atmosphere.
Now, you are a journalist, you have been interviewing parents. It seems President Paul Biya bowed to pressure that was mounted by parents who said no release, no school.
I should say I am not in the position to say that, because obviously the head of state is taking the decision after several months now. Many are asking why now, because we are just few days to school resumption and the tension is very, very high in the two English-speaking regions of the country. There were equally probabilities that school resumption is not going to be effective in the northwest and southwest region or regions of the country as a result of the arrest of the Anglophone leaders and some Anglophones as well that have been in detention. It should be noted that it's been one of the preconditions that were given by Anglophones, international human rights activists, as well as the United Nations. They have pledged for the release of these leaders. This was one of the major recommendations that they were given for school resumption, for this crisis to be resolved. So it's just a step ahead of the solutions that Anglophone Cameroonians are expecting from the government of
you
Cameroon.
As a journalist
and
with
the court
Equinox
session that was supposed to take place tomorrow, the 31st of August 2017, is actually not going to take place. We should note as well that the Anglophone leaders were supposed to appear before the military tribunal in the nation's capital, Yaoundé. That was going to be more than the 5th time ever since they were arrested on January 2017.
And before you are a journalist with Equinox Television, Equinox Television has been at the center of the event. We must say Equinox Television is the most watched television in Cameroon today, especially this Anglophone crisis, which means Equinox TV has been going closer to the people, and today the people have this confidence in Equinox Television. Now, after this decree by the head of state, Pobia, definitely there will be much to be done.
Much to be done. Much has already been done, especially by the team of reporters of Equinox Television that have been heavily deployed time and again in the northwest region of the country. Were equally at the heart of the crisis in Bamenda, especially during school resumption, especially when students were preparing to write the GCE. It's been a very, very tough moment, especially for Equinox Television, who have been covering the situation on the ground in Boya, Limbe, Kumba, and Bamenda. It's not going to be different now, Hansen, because a few days from now, there's going to be school resumption. There were several conditions that were given. The release of all those that were arrested in connection with the crisis, the demilitarization of the two English-speaking regions of the country, and a lot more.
Right.
Now, we have the situation on the ground is that there are hundreds of soldiers still deployed in the two English-speaking regions of the country. We don't know whether it's still an undeclared state of emergency. For Hansen Chanji, before I go, I should equally talk about our colleagues who are equally journalists that were arrested as well. That was in January 2017, and we are expecting. It's a wonderful news for us as pressmen and women, because we too have been clamoring for their release, for their liberation. They have been behind bars. There are close to more than 5 of them. They have been behind bars since January as well, this 2017.
All right, thank you very much, Mimi Mefo. That was Staff Lady Mimi Mefo, who has equally been on the ground. Before we have a legal mind to tell us what the discontinuance of judicial proceedings is all about, we shall be receiving on set now the editor-in-chief of Equinox Radio and Television, Eric Fernand Kwamo. Eric Fernand Kwamo, definitely who has been the man marshalling those on the ground as far as the Anglophone crisis is concerned. As far as reporters on the ground are concerned, Equinox Television has been at the heart of the crisis. Eric Fernand Kwamo, good evening.
Good evening, for Hansen.
Welcome to join me.
Thank you.
Now, you are the editor-in-chief of Equinox Radio and Television. Definitely, you must have seen things coming after feedbacks from your reporters on the ground.
Sure, for Hansen Chanji, I must first of all do apologize for my poor English, but since it is the main news tonight, we have to bring out the first analysis on the act that has just been taken by the head of state. And you must understand that the act that the head of state has just taken is shows that the solution to this crisis was not only political. Violence was not the solution to the problem. The solution was also diplomatic. And that is why behind the act of the head of state tonight, we can observe that it is a way for negotiation. And of course, the implications are very high, because since the beginning of this crisis, there were 2 postures that erupted from the various positions taken by some members of the government. There were some who thought the solution was obviously through dialogue, and who thought the problems that were raised by Anglophone leaders were real. And tonight, you can understand that the head of state think they were right. Then there were those who were radical, who thought the solution, there was no problem. You remember the position taken by the Minister of Communication, who was was in a posture, in a very negative posture, who thought the solution, there was no Anglophone problem. And these people contributed to radicalize the posture. And tonight we can say the way is now open for dialogue. Then politically,
yes, but can we say that President Pobia had the key, the knife and the yam, but never wanted to bring it out, wanted to play the joker? Can we say today is the joker that he removed?
This is an evidence.
Conserving power to himself?
This is an evidence which shows that the position that were taken by some legal minds in the circle of the Anglophone intellectuals was very right. I can cite tonight Barrister Muna, who thought the president, who is very a legalist, you know, and because some people thought since President Paul Biya is a legalist, there was no possibility for him to interrupt a procedure going on. So this is an indication that there were possibilities for the head of state, though the principles of the separation of power is very high within the circle of the power in Cameroon. This is an indication that the solutions to this crisis were at stake. Okay. And now the leaders who will be released surely in the next hour or within the next days are going to play an important role, because they will be seen not only as leaders but like heroes. These are people who are now considered like seen like the Mandelas and the others who can better influence the positions and the mind of the population.
All right.
And of course bring back, you know, life in the two Anglophone regions of Cameroon. Okay, before you go, Eric Fernand Kwamo, Equinox Television today is being congratulated for the professional role it had, the professional stance it had in handling the Anglophone crisis. It has definitely not been easy for Equinox TV, with pressure on both sides. No, not easy at all. You know, our editorial policy impose us to be very objective and to report facts, and that is why we have been on the field. You were on the field. You know what really happened, and it is our position, you know, our editorial policy to present the facts to the population and of course raise the debate. And we think tonight the head of state listen to us. All right. Welcoming on board now is Barrister Tamfo Richard. Barrister Tamfo Richard, good evening and thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Good evening, Mr. Tamfo.
Now, Barrister, what is the discontinuance of judicial proceedings? How can we analyze this in legal terms? What does it mean?
Yes, when they say discontinuance of legal proceedings, in legal terms, what that means is the entry of the nolle prosequi. It's true that that provision is being guided by the Criminal Procedure Code, wherein it is the President of the Procureur General, through the Minister in charge of justice, who can enter into a nolle prosequi. But today, what we are witnessing with the decree of the head of state, it falls within his own prerogatives. As the head of state, he was faced with some social uprisings, and he saw that if he doesn't come as a main actor, as head of state, we all know that in Cameroon there is really not the really separation of powers in what to be, because the head of state is at the same time the president of the Higher Judicial Council. So he has used this decree not in line with the provisions of the Criminal Procedure Code, because it has not strictly sensu followed the provisions of the Criminal Procedure Code. So he has taken this decree on his own prerogatives as head of state, and I think that is why today we have that decree.
Now you've been one of the actors who strongly advocated for the release of barristers Agbo Bala, Dr. Fontemneba and co. Today, are you a happy person, seeing that the head of state has decided to order the discontinuance of these legal proceedings?
Yes, from day one, I've been principal actor and support of my colleague and all those arrested in Yaoundé. Today, this news is just falling to me as a gift. I am really grateful that the head of state has finally used his wisdom, because for people who love this country, I don't think they were giving all the advices to the head of state. All this crisis wouldn't have escalated to this level if the close collaborators of the head of state were honest and truthful to him. You will see how his ministers were coming and saying there was no Anglophone crisis. You saw all the illegal arrests that were being orchestrated, and it has instead created more tension. And we saw how the last school year just ended, and the upcoming one is about to come. So the head of state thought it wise that he should come in as the head of state and decide a way forward for this country. Because if his ministers actually love, or his close collaborators actually love this country, they will have told him the truth from the beginning when this crisis all started, with the teachers and with the lawyers and the teachers thereafter. All right,
I'm being joined by Bruno. Good evening, thanks for joining me.
Good evening, for Hansen.
You are coming all the way from the OPEC city of Limbe.
Yeah.
We must say, I don't know if I put it a double blessing or a blessing in disguise, the Anglophone crisis. That happened, one of the consequences, the seizure of internet in the 2 English-speaking regions of the country. First of all, I want to have your reaction on the recent decree by the head of state, Paul Biya. Does it make you a happy man today?
I think it does, because if anyone is being arrested and locked up in jail, I know there are a lot of family members and friends who are sympathizing with them, and if they are being released, I think it's good news for everyone.
Now, the internet seizure in the 2 English-speaking regions of the country push you to discover something. First of all, business-wise, it was a big economic breakdown. Can you confirm that?
Yeah, that was true. That's very, very correct, because during that 3 months, being an information security company, we depend largely on the internet to gather information and make analytical data from this information. So when we're disconnected for a whole 90 days, I would say, I think 92 days, it was a very, very big setback. And that, like you said, that really pushed us to create something new, for people to be able to secure their cars, their homes, and their offices using SMS only. And now the company is pushing itself to build more SMS-based applications.
We shall be coming back to you, because we are still within the context of the Anglophone crisis. You benefited from the Anglophone crisis, the internet seizure, to create a program. Now back to Barrister Tamfo Richard. What is going to happen next? Televiewers want to know what will happen next after this decree by the head of state. How many days does it take for somebody to be released after benefiting from this?
Well, the head of state, this decree, I just heard he said proceedings should be discontinued, meaning that their immediate release from prison. But now we all know on how, or maybe administrative documents and bottlenecks, they all just have to be patient. But the decree is saying that as from the pronouncement, these guys are released. So in normal circumstances, they just have to open the doors of the prisons for them to go out. But there are some documents, some formalities that they have to fulfill for them to be out.
What are those documents? That's what I'm talking about. How many days can it take? How many days can it take for them to?
It can go as fast as possible. It's just their release. It's just a release order. So those are not more. They are not more. They will not more be entitled to some procedures. Immediately they are released. It's just like when you go to court and you are being found not guilty, it automatically means that you have to go home. But there are some forms you have to fill and sign out their release. So it won't take long. I think we can see them even out even tomorrow if people are diligent in their duties.
So we must say the state or the government had its back on the wall and had no choice than to give into demands of Anglophones, meaning schools are expected to reopen on Monday. Do you see it coming?
Yeah, I'm seeing it very possible, because that was all what was at stake. Parents were afraid that last year we were paying for we paid the school fees for people who were in the dormitories. Now you could not call a parent now to come again and still pay for the same fees for the dormitory when he knows that actually my child is will not be able to go to school. So I think that school will effectively resume on the 4th of September, and even the social climate will come down to normal, because all what the head of state, if these close collaborators were truthful to him, they could have invited him that great time, go to Bamenda, call these people that, okay, actually what people are asking for, or these are the grievances that people have asked for, this is how I intend to solve them out. Because actually, virtually in all what were being demanded, the head of state has granted it. Lawyers, magistrates were removed from the English zones and sent to their proper jurisdictions. On the other side, teachers were being redeployed. So the government on its own part has done a lot of great things already with respect to this crisis. Just that they won't have waited up to this point before resolving issues. When this crisis just started from the very first days with the lawyers, they will have stopped everything and we won't have found ourselves where we are today.
Okay. Now, Bruno,
yes,
your device,
basically it's a system of locating your cars, securing your cars and your homes, your offices. by using SMS. So I can send a simple SMS from my phone to my car, and my car can carry out those functions. And this would not have been possible if we're not disconnected from the internet for 3 months. So we were developing this for a number of time before the internet was disconnected. So we had to look for an alternative method of transferring information to and fro, and we decided to use SMS since it's cheap. You know, SMS is 500 francs in Cameroon for a whole period of 1 month. That brings the amount to 6,000 a year. If you compare this with the internet-based tracking systems, that gives you approximately like 6,000-7,000 or some up to 20,000 a month. So we said we can say that the problem that took place is not something to break us down like business people. We had to look for alternative method of doing business, and right now a lot of people are interested in what we're doing. A lot of companies are coming up to us, and they are getting the system to secure the cars.
We shall be coming back when we'll be ending this special edition of the news on Equinox television. You benefited from the Anglophone crisis, the internet seizure in the OPEC city of Limbe. Now, before you go, Barrister Tamfu Richard, yes. Any last words? Barrister Agbo Nkongo will be coming back. The 5 branches or the constituent associations of common laws were banned by the government. What next?
Yes, I think it's the logic is that the president has put in order. They will just have to reinstate. The ban has been lifted. I think his administration, maybe the people who took that act in banning those various unions will have to leave their orders. We all know that this very case was supposed to come up tomorrow, the 31st. So the case has no grounds again. Even the procedure that was in the habeas corpus that was initiated and that took place yesterday, it has all fallen down. And I think that it is now time for peace. So we should see and rethink, and maybe he has just opened a great way for dialogue. I think that from this, what next is maybe the president himself will see into this crisis and not more listen to people who were agitating and saying that there was no Anglophone problem. So I think it is an avenue for peace and for dialogue that the president has just created today.
All right, thanks for coming. Now I conclude business with you, Zo Bruno. Your device, if anyone watching now wants to get to you, you benefited from the current situation.
Yeah, the person can give us a call at 676-089-081 or visit our website, zuoix.com. That is ZUOIX, X as in Y.com, and then we can install a device on the person's car, at the person's home or office, and the person can use his mobile phone without the need of internet and communicate with these devices and make sure that he's secured.
Thanks, gentlemen, for coming. You are a businessman who benefited from the internet seizure in the 2 English-speaking regions of Cameroon, and you, a barrister at law, who gave us the legal eye as far as the decision of the head of state Paul Biya is concerned. Barrister Tamfu Richard, the editor-in-chief of Equinox Television, Eric Fernand Kwamo, was equally here to give a political view of what actually happened, and equally our staff lady Mimi Mefo. It was a special edition of the news, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for watching. At 8 p.m. local time, Cedric Nufele will be coming here with more guests who are going to dilute the decree that was signed recently this day by the President of the Republic, Paul Biya, as far as the Anglophone crisis is concerned, ordering the discontinuance of the legal proceedings in the case against Ayapol Abine, Barrister Agbo Balang Kongo, Dr. Fontem Nebab Mancho BBC, and others arrested within the context of crisis in the 2 English-speaking regions of Cameroon. Equinox Television has been at the center of the event. Thanks for watching. Good night.